my name is Jagraj and my topic is poverty in a first world country. Living a good life, we take some things for granted and might believe that there are no poor people in the world, especially in a developed country, for example, Canada. There is a lot of poverty happening in Ontario Peel region, with all sorts of people, adults, children, hunger, food, jobs, and drug abuse. Therefore, today's topic will bring you lots of facts and make you aware of how dire the situation really is. In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, there are people in the world so hungry that cannot appear to them in except in the form of bread. First, let's learn some facts. 1 in 7 or 4.9 million people in Canada live in poverty. The UNICEF rated Canada 17th out of 29 wealthy countries due to the number of children living in poverty in Canada. How many of you have heard of poverty? How many of you have know what poverty is? Poverty is the state of being extremely poor. Being extremely poor means not to have the good food to eat as some of us do, or have a roof over their heads as we all do. Poverty means not having the basic things needed even to merely survive. Poverty is still a problem because of many reasons. Some of the most prominent ones include unemployment due to poor economy, drug abuse, war, lack of education, and critical illnesses. The topic of poverty and many questions related to it came into my mind as I saw people on the roads, even in winter, begging for money. I wrote my inquiry questions to understand this problem and what can be done to prevent poverty. My original inquiry questions were: how does poverty impact families in the Peel region? My second question was: what can the Brampton Peel region do to help families suffering from poverty? My last inquiry question was: what can LAS do to help prevent poverty? I revised my inquiry questions after I did research on the social justice issue. I revised the inquiry questions using specific language to get more precise information as a result of the inquiry questions. My three revised questions were: what is the effect of poverty on the physical, mental, and social health of poor people? Are there programs in the Brampton Peel region to help support people suffering poverty? And my last question was: what actions can be taken by LAS students to help prevent poverty? I read the book Pravana's Journey by Deborah Ellis to do research on what I thought was wrong and should be prevented from happening. This book is about a 13-year-old girl in Afghanistan who is forced into a life of poverty due to many years of war raging in her country. The book told me about the challenges faced by poor people, both children and adults, and their struggle for basic survival every single day. Some of these poor people develop mental problems and some die as a result of the poverty that affects their lives. Poverty makes people physically weak, negatively affects their mental health, and socially isolates them. There are organizations fighting to eradicate poverty, but more effort is needed at the individual level. Does anyone know the effect of poverty and on the physical health of poor people? To quote from the book, Pravana did not want to talk about her father's growing weaknesses. For days it seemed as though he would die while they walked alone through the Afghan wilderness. There was never much food, but sometimes he even was too tired to eat what there was. Page 17. Pravana and her father had to go hungry for days at a stretch. This made them physically weak and tired all the time. They rarely got enough food, but staying hungry for long made them too tired to eat. This constant struggle with hunger made them sick. Parvana's father's sickness got very bad and eventually led to his death. Another question I always had about poverty was unanswered and is now answered. What is the effect of what is the effect of poverty on the mental health of people? On page 69 of Parvana's journey, per, Parvana says another day of beginning hunger with nothing around that looks like food. I don't even know if I'm hungry anymore. I'm just tired and I feel like crying all the time. Poverty deprives a person on the basic necessities in life, especially food. Parvana met many adults during her journey that had become mentally ill due to being faced by war, poverty, and hunger for more than a decade. At, at times, Parvana was depressed that she felt like crying all the time. Who knows how poverty affects an individual socially? The book gives us many examples of this as well. To quote one, "We'll do anything," Parvana said, "and you don't have to pay us. Just give us something to eat and drink." The man took a swallow of tea and took his time answering, as though Parvana and Asif were well fed children asking for work for the fun of it. "You can't do work," he finally said, looking at Asif. The novel Parvana's Journey deals with the issue of poverty which has resulted due to constant war. This poverty leads to many problems for an individual. They not only suffer from physical and mental health issues, but also are socially isolated. Parvana and Asif did not have any food or money and were willing to do any work in exchange for some food. However, the rich people did not even agree with this. The book Parvana's Journey gives us a broader picture of poverty as a result of in Afghanistan. The novel is about a poor girl living in poverty and her experiences as well as the difficulty she faces due to being poor. It makes the reader of the problem aware of poverty and inspires them to take actions towards eradicating poverty. There are solutions presented in the novel to help people living in poverty. These include kindnesses shown by individuals, jobs provided to the poor and homelessness, and the role of organizations to bring relief to such individuals in a form of food, clean water, and warm blankets. However, poverty is not restricted to war torn countries or only developing countries. Poverty affects the living of many even in the well developed Peel region of Ontario, Canada. The issues faced by people living in poverty are the same, whether they live in Afghanistan or Canada. Their daily struggle for survival and for the most basic necessities of life, even in 2016, is shameful for the entire human race. Steps needs to Steps need to be taken to finish poverty. There are several organizations in the Peel Brampton region trying to eliminate poverty. CARE is one of the organizations that fight for poverty and helps people with dignity. CARE helps the poor by giving them packages containing emergency food and warm blankets. Another organization is called One. It is another organization that fights against poverty and sexism in Canada. One has a global fund program to help support the poor. The actions that can be taken by LAS students to help prevent poverty are: firstly, creating awareness among the general public; secondly, collecting funds and using them for relief measures for the poor people; thirdly, providing affordable homes and shelters for the homeless; fourthly, giving healthy food and warm blankets to the people in need. To address the issue, we can do fundraising campaigns in the local community. We can also have classes to educate and reskill the poor people to help them find jobs. Well, the lessons that I have learned from this book is that poverty is a major issue affecting adults and children throughout the world. Many organizations try to fight this problem, but the fact that poverty still prevails means that a lot more needs to be done to save the people suffering from poverty. I will leave you with the thoughts of Aristotle. Poverty is the parent of revolution and crime. To avoid this, each of us needs to take a step to help the poor. Let us pledge today to stand up and be part of the fight against poverty. Thank you for listening to my presentation. After listening to my presentation, I hope all you guys help prevent poverty from happening.